John Carpenter's immortal horror classic Halloween celebrated its 20th anniversary in 1998, so to commemorate that, we got Halloween H20 20 years later, a film made and taking place, of course, 20 years after the first Halloween, and it saw the return of Jamie Lee Curtis in the role that made her famous, Laurie Strode. She's back, and of course, Michael Myers is back. John Carpenter not back, unfortunately, but hey, we got Steve Miner, director of Friday the 13th, Part 2 and 3, and many other movies, in the director's chair, so not too shabby. I really like this movie, and I have been doing this 31 Days of Horror movie review marathon on my YouTube channel now for 7 years. And with each year, I do like to revisit a Halloween film and do a new review of a Halloween film. And of course, this is the seventh movie in the series, though, I mean, yeah, chronologically, it's like a third and kind of like a trilogy uh, following Halloween 2 from 1981. And in that film, of course, they revealed that Laurie Strode was Michael Myers' sister, and that was kind of the reasoning behind his stalking her, his wanting to kill her, the whole Festival of Samhain kind of aspect to it, which some people don't like. I think it's okay. I like the brother sister angle kind of thing that they do, and in following up with it in this movie, I think makes enough sense, and it does a serviceable job in in that kind of relationship, that kind of connection between the two. And I do think with this film, it is a pretty interesting concept to see where this character is 2 decades later. Like, you don't see that really too much. Like, a horror slasher film, the survivor, the final girl. What has happened after those traumatic events? How has she been dealing with it and stuff like that? So I think that's a good idea to explore in a movie like this, and it's just something we don't really see. And well, I mean, needless to say, not all these girls end up to be Jamie Lee fucking Curtis, big Hollywood actress that she is, right? So Jamie Lee's back. She's the big draw of this movie, returning to the character, and that's kind of the concept we have here. And I mean, definitely it's a movie that it's not perfect, but I think there's a lot to like about it. In fact, I'd probably even say this is, I'd say, my third favorite in the film after Halloween 1 and 2, actually. And a lot of that is in part thanks to Jamie Lee Curtis's performance, which I think is great. And again, I do think they explore this character in a very interesting way, where she is trying to push the past aside. She's trying to put it behind her 20 years later. And on the surface, it does seem like she's leading a pretty good life. I mean, she's moved from Illinois to California. She's the headmistress at a pretty fancy school. So she's doing all right. She's doing all right. Of course, she has a son now who is now the same age as she was when she first encountered her brother, Michael Myers, and his killing spree. So in events that we only hear of, in having this overprotective relationship with him, it's at a complete boiling point as this movie starts, because not only is it Halloween, but it's his 17th birthday as well. And I think that's a lot of where the heart of the movie lies, in this mother-son relationship, where it is kind of this almost like reverse parental thing, where he's the one taking care of her when she has her problems. Like, she's on all kinds of medication. She's a functioning alcoholic, as her son puts it, and she's still deeply affected by her encounter all these years later. And I think that's a really strong aspect to the movie. So everything in terms of character, I think they do really well. But maybe where the movie kind of falters a little bit is in like the horror thriller elements, which are okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're fine, but I don't know, they seem a little bit off. Like, this movie, it came just as the stars aligned, the 20th anniversary of Halloween came at the time when the Scream movies were like the most popular horror movies like ever, and I'm sure because like in the first Scream they're watching Halloween on TV, and in this one they're watching Scream 2 on the TV, so there's kind of a connection there. But I think Scream kind of helped the Halloween legacy a little bit. Probably after Scream, a lot of people went back to revisit that movie, or new people became aware of it from seeing it in Scream and stuff like that. So there's this weird kind of, I don't know, symbiotic relationship between Scream and Halloween, and it's this weird hybrid in this movie specifically. So it's a product of its time, really, and it's not too bad. I mean, we get kind of the atmosphere of a Scream kind of movie where it feels kind of more like a thriller than like a straight horror, and kind of the young kids are just these sarcastic 90s talking kind of douchebags, and it's all right. We have Josh Hartnett in the role of Laurie Strode's son. This is his first film, and he has his friends. He has a girlfriend, Michelle Williams, and part of it is their kind of side story that interjects with everything Laurie and Michael Myers. So everything comes together. They're kind of locked on campus on Halloween night, and he's after them, and Laurie has to stop them, and all that kind of stuff. So I think it works okay, but there's some parts where like, even like the music feels like very screamy. The credits say John Ottoman, Academy Award winner John Ottoman, composed the music for this film, but apparently, from what I understand, they axed his score and replaced it with some Marco Beltrami music, which he, of course, did the music for Scream. But I mean, obviously, the best parts of the music is when they reprise the Halloween theme, which is really cool, and even like a little touch of Psycho in there because Janet Leigh has a cameo, of course, as well. And I think we have some parts where like Michael Myers doesn't quite feel like Michael Myers. He feels kind of like the bumbling scream ghost face kind of killer, which doesn't quite feel right, but it's okay. It works for what this movie is, and I think the ultimate success of this movie lies within pitting Laurie Strode and Michael Myers back in this kind of rematch 20 years later, all that stuff. And I think it works well in that respect. I mean, some good memorable moments here, like when she first sees him through the window for the first time, that shocking scene that's really cool, and where she's about to get away. I guess there's spoilers in this review, by the way. She's about to get away with her son and his girlfriend, and it dawns on her. She doesn't say it, but we know exactly what she's thinking. If they get away, go now, he's just gonna follow them till the end of time. So she has to do something. She's not gonna stop until either she or Michael is dead. So she locks herself in. She breaks the gate. She takes out the axe, and the Halloween theme plays. She's like, Michael, Michael, and that's a really cool scene. I think it's great. That's a fist pump kind of moment, and obviously, I think the ending is fantastic too. Another kind of fist pump moment where she's like, we think he's dead, but come on, we know better. It's Michael Myers. She holds up the paramedics at gunpoint, and she takes the van away, and he's in the body bag, and she crashes it, and he's pinned against a tree, and he's like reaching out to her, and she's like, fuck it, and he chops his fucking head off. Again, Halloween music plays and credits roll. Perfect ending. And it was kind of like, a perfect ending to this, if you want to call it a trilogy. So, as everyone knows, they never made any movies after this in this continuity, and they went straight to the remake in 2007. So, this is a great end to that. So, there's a lot to enjoy about the movie. And for all its faults, I think the good outweighs the bad, and maybe there's just, I don't know, a little bit missing from the movie. Sure, the tone's a little bit off, but that's forgivable. But I think we just need more of kind of like a backbone, a little bit more to the movie, where unfortunately, I mean, Donald Pleasance playing the Loomis character, an equally iconic character to Laurie Strode from the first film, he had passed, so he's only mentioned, he's only referenced in this movie. He doesn't make a return, obviously. But it would have been nice to maybe have some kind of character similar to him. It doesn't have to be the exact same kind of thing, but maybe just some other kind of character who's on the trail, kind of, concurrently with the action taking place with Laurie, with the son, with the murders on campus, things like that. Like they show police at the beginning of the film, like seeing the murder scene, like Michael had, you know, uh, killed Loomis's nurse and stolen the files to find out where Laurie Strode is and how she changed her name to Carrie Tate and moved and all that. Um, so I think it would have been interesting to see some kind of, like, I don't know, detective character kind of piecing it all together and following hot on the trail of Michael Myers, something like that. So I feel like that was a missed opportunity, and it does indeed feel like something's missing a little bit, and the movie does feel short, doesn't it? Like this is barely an hour and a half long, so it moves very briskly. So I don't know, we could have used a little bit more, and even with that length, there does feel uh, like there's, like, I don't know, padding scenes. Like, of course, we kind of need to know how Michael Myers kind of made that journey from the Loomis's uh, caregiver's nurse, her home in Illinois, to all the way to California. He has to grab a car, just like in the original film, right? But with the original film, again, because of the perspective of the Loomis character hot on the trail of Michael Myers, that makes a lot of sense. So here we kind of have, like, just, I don't know, awkwardly inputted scene with the mom and her kid and in the bathroom at the gas station, and they do their best with that scene. They make it kind of like this tense little thing where she's looking under the crack of the door and Michael steals the purse and daughter's screaming, but oh, it's just spiders and stuff like that. It's okay. And we have the LL Cool J character. He's the security guard at the school, and he's trying to get his career going. He's trying to write his great romance novels, and always talking to his wife on the phone and things like that. And yeah, he's kind of a take him or leave him kind of character. I mean, like, respect to LL Cool J. He's pretty cool, but I mean, maybe unnecessary in this movie. So there's that. But just kind of like filler stuff. So that's generally the point I'm trying to make there. But um, as far as additional characters go, I mean, we have pretty much the disposable kids. We have Laurie Strode returning, of course. She's great. Jamie Lee is great in the role. And a good character, I think, that maybe I wish we could have seen maybe a little bit more of, was uh, Laurie's boyfriend, who also works at school. He's a guidance counselor at school, played by Adam Arkin, who's great, a great actor. He's like such this weird typecast to him, where he's like, he always seems to play the the boring but stable man that your mom dates after the divorce kind of character. So I don't know. He's amusing to see, and he's good in the movie. Um, but unfortunately, he shoots LL Cool J and dies. But whatever. I think what it all amounts to is a good reunion film, a good rematch between Laurie Strode, Michael Myers, brother and sister, destined to be at odds, to fight, and only one can come out alive. Thankfully, at the end of this, it's Laurie Strode. So, I don't know. It's not a bad movie. I think in looking at it, like, this movie itself, it's 20 years old. So it was celebrating the 20th anniversary of the first film, but now this has its 20-year anniversary as well. So I guess in a weird way, they, I don't know, did another kind of remake of this, of at least of the concept, for 40 years later, with Halloween 2018. So it's interesting to revisit this character and to see where she is all this time later, and see the the sibling rivalry between her and Michael. Although of course in the 2008 one they or 2018 one they don't acknowledge any other movie besides the first one. So take that however you want. But Halloween H2O, it gets a pass in my book. I think it's actually really good. I really enjoy it. And I had fun revisiting it this year for 31 Days of Horror. So, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. And stay scared.